Do you know that feeling when something goes really well and then for a moment you think, okay, maybe I am enough. And then almost before the thought finishes, another thought comes up. Yes, but. And you think of the thing you didn't do, or you didn't do well enough, or you should have done differently. And then that first feeling is gone. If that's familiar to you, I want to talk to you about what's actually happening here. Because it's not that you are too negative or that you need to think more positively. It's something more specific than that. The feeling of being enough isn't something that you get when you finally do enough. That's actually a trap, because there is always more to do. Always something that needs more attention, more precision. You will always find a reason why this particular success doesn't really count yet. You just move the bar up, like always. And if you've been chasing it for a while, you know by now that catching it doesn't actually give you what you were hoping for. It gives you a moment and then the next thing. So here's what I've come to understand about this. The feeling of being enough doesn't come from what you do. It comes from how you relate to yourself while you're doing it. And that's a different thing entirely, because you can achieve something significant and still feel hollow if the voice inside is critical and conditional. And you can have an ordinary, unremarkable day and feel genuinely okay if you have learned to meet yourself with something gentler than judgment. The difference isn't in the circumstances, it's in the relationship with yourself. Most of us were taught in one way or another that you have to earn your worth by performing, by being productive, by being useful, reliable, impressive, needed. And so we spend years doing all of those things, and still the feeling that you thought you would have doesn't just come. Because it was never going to come from out there. It was always going to have to come from in here. Now, and if I'm honest about this shift is not going to happen because you decide to feel good enough, because it's not a mindset switch. It is something that needs to build slowly, by consistent practice, by catching the critical thought and then offer something that is a little bit softer. Noticing when you've done something well and actually let that in instead of immediately moving on to the next thing. Through treating yourself in ordinary moments with the same basic decency that you extend to people you love. Not as a reward, not when you have earned it, but just as a way of being with yourself. And that's what changes the feelings of enough. Not achieving more or proving more, but gradually, incrementally shifting the belief underneath. The belief that you have to earn your own gentleness, that you have to deserve ease, that rest and softness and self-kindness are things you get to have once the work is done and done well. But they're not. They're available to you now, on an ordinary day, in an ordinary moment, even this one. And that is what I call the self-gentleness perspective. Self-gentleness is the practice of radically accepting yourself as the most important person to consistently deserve your own gentleness. And the word that matters most in that definition for this particular feeling is consistently. Not when you've been good enough, not when you've earned it, consistently, always. And that's the whole practice. And it's one of the most radical things you can do. If you're curious about where you are in this self-gentleness process right now, I made a short quiz that might help you see yourself a little bit more clearly. You find a link below. And if this resonated, I would love for you to subscribe. I make one video every week, and this is exactly the kind of thing we explore. I see you in the next one. With all my love, bye-bye.